Hello, chat. I'm looking down where you guys are on my laptop. Hello, chat. Good to see you guys. Welcome in here. Good to talk to you. Today, it's going to be disorganized attachment style 101, also called fearful avoidance style. Sometimes it's been called anxious dash avoidance style, the combination. The naming scheme is just as chaotic as the style itself. I'll just tell you. So, what I need to talk to you tonight is what causes disorganized attachment style to form. What are the clear symptoms that we are looking for so that you know we're looking for in that. And then how do you start resolving disorganized attachment style? Because it's one of the most terrified approaches a person can have. It's fearful, it's traumatized, there's a lot of pain involved. Good to see you in chat. Edith, welcome in here. House office, good to see you as always. Gen History Fuzz Admin. That's a heck of a name. Glad you made it too. Thank you so much for being here, chat. Say hi when you pop in or throw up a little wave or something like that. Sam Wilson, no way. Good to see you again. Jade, Kelly Rush, Rachel, Erica, so glad to see you guys in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Deborah, Edith again with the little wave. Thank you so much. Beard looking good now. Thank you. Yeah, it's growing in, growing in. It's doing what it does. I'm learning. I'm learning to take care of it. It's meaning a lot to me. It is. It is. My daughters, they police me. If I ever go in to like trim my beard, they come to the doors and they go, and they watch me because they don't want me to shave my beard. They get very angry if my beard, like even like it's injured. It's very strange. So they love it. Just Jen is fine. Good to know. Good to know. Detail Hawk, Vampy, Jade, again, good to see you. Rachel, Emma, Flying You're on. Good to see you too. Very glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. All right, guys. I wouldn't recognize you without the beard. I think my daughters feel the same way. I think they feel the same way. Archeon, very glad to have you in here as well. You're always welcome. Always welcome. At the end of this, I am going to turn on members only chat. For those of you who are members, down at the bottom, it says join. You can join, support the channel. Would be glad to have you here. You help me make my work happen. I turn around and take care of you at the end of these chats as well. You get chat priority. Donism. Wow. Well, at live Adam. Hey, welcome. Glad you're here. Jocelyn, glad you're here. Glad to hear an extra daughter join the cause. I have 3 daughters and they are all obsessed with my beard. It is a very strange thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the experience of a woman loving a man with a beard or a father with a beard. I don't get it. Emma, thank you for so much everything you do, Adam. Your videos help me. I'm glad, Emma. Thank you for trusting me. And you're very, very welcome. I'm honored to be able to do this and to help people. So thank you. Sam, and you met him. If any of us could recognize him, 100%, 100%. All right, here's what we're gonna do, you guys. Oh, Flying U Ranch. Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. And Donism. It's a religious. I gotcha. I gotcha. Me and my sister are also obsessed with her dad's beard. Yeah, there you go. It's kind of like a thing, you know. It's a thing. You expect your dad to look a certain way. Mary Margaret, glad to have you here. Welcome in. All right, disorganized attachment style. Let's jump in. What is it? So we know that attachment styles essentially are a childhood trauma to human relationships. Okay, with disorganized attachment style in particular, what happens? Well, there's a specific thing we need to understand called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when we have pain inflicted on us over and over and over and over, and we try everything we can think of to stop it, and we have no power whatsoever. So our pain continues. The pain seems to have no purpose. We can't turn it into anything useful. We can't use it as a motivation. It's just endless waves of pain against us. There was a horrible experiment conducted back before ethics, really, where they took dogs, they put them in cages, electrified. Yes, this is as horrible as you can imagine. 2 groups of dogs. One group of dogs had a very specific pattern for when they were electrified. Right? Certain conditions would be met. They'd have to touch something or move to a certain spot. The dog's anxiety went up. They solved the problem. They stopped doing those things. No more shocks. When the experiment ended, the door was open. The dogs walked out happy, totally fine. They just didn't do those specific things anymore. Totally fine, though. No learned helplessness. Totally happy, playful. Another group of dogs. Yes, this is horrible for those of you who are squeamish. Turn off the sound for a minute. This group of dogs was shocked over and over and over and over, but at completely random intervals and completely random things that had nothing to do with the dog at all. They specifically made sure there was no pattern that could be recognized. The dog's anxiety went up, then up again, then up through the roof, like panic level, then crashed into like depression, and then laid down on the floor of their cage and just got shocked over and over and over and over and over at random intervals. Then when the experiment ended, they opened the doors and the dogs just laid on the floor, didn't even come rushing out of the cage. They just laid there. They continued, they expected to get shocked, and they completely and totally gave up. From this, we learned helplessness. This happens to children. When you throw a baby in their crib and make them cry it out, like in the first 6 months of life, when you put a baby in the NICU and the baby doesn't understand why they're in a cold, sterile box, even if it's a warm box, alone, isolated, no smells, no human smells, no warmth, no oxytocin, no touch. You throw a baby at 2 weeks into daycare with strangers. The baby smells strangers, smells like danger. Mom is not there, can't get comforted, doesn't understand what's happening. When mom is not able to engage with the child and is exhausted, depressed, angry, frustrated, but can't give the baby the interaction they need, the baby doesn't understand why they're being denied that love and interaction, why mom looks so upset or distracted, why mom isn't paying attention. Hurt, right? Abuse, neglect, anything that's a consistent, repeated pattern they can't figure out. Couple things can happen. If they get oxytocin and it's ripped away, that's their measurement of safety. Someone loves me and cares for me. I'm not going to be dumped in the woods or starve or eaten by wolves. I'm safe. Ripped away. Now I'm unsafe. Given, taken, given, taken, given, taken. And they don't understand why. Some babies blame themselves. Many times they do. Self-blame. I must be bad. I must be doing something bad. People can see it. I don't know what it is. I'm helpless. I will never figure it out, but I will always be abandoned. I'm doomed. All I can do is be perfect, 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 perfect all the time and make people like me. And then they won't leave me because they can't, right? This turns into anxious attachment style. But when that doesn't do enough to stop the pattern, the pain and suffering is too intense, they develop a second pathway. That's not even good enough for you people. And it turns into also avoidant attachment style. So when people pull away and appear to abandon them, they activate anxious attachment to chase and pursue to try to get safe. When they get safe and someone loves and cares for them, they freak out because they're afraid it's going to end or it's going to be used against them. So they become flip and become avoidant and they pull away on the inside. This is what creates disorganized attachment style. It's an extreme second layer of attachment problems, second layer of trauma. This creates the what we know as disorganized style. Fearful avoidant is also the name for this. This is why they flip from anxious to avoidant back and forth. This is why that's happening. This happens to a baby. They grow up into an adult. Their sympathetic nervous system is overactive, spiking up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's like this, freaking out, flapping wildly like hummingbird wings, so that they are getting oxytocin bonding and then freaking out because of it. Then they freak out because they don't get oxytocin bonding. So they freak out. And it's constantly up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And they're soothing. They don't soothe quite like a purely avoidant person does. It's not just dopamine. They also soothe through new levels of oxytocin. I need to go find somebody to love bomb me right now. Or I need to find someone to love bomb them. And from that, I'll also oxytocin bond and love bomb myself. And then they get that and they flood with it back and forth. This is why a fearful avoidant person, their relationship cycles usually only last about 3 to 4 months. An avoidant person at 7 months, usually their dopamine dies. And then at 7 months, they start saying, well, maybe this isn't a right fit. And they might break up, but this is not the same thing. Okay, this is much more chaotic. Wild, passionate inferno at the beginning, crash at 3 to 4 months. Not always, but typically. Now, as you know, I'm updating the field of attachment. I'm splitting disorganized in two because it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. You can have that double layer of trauma and go 2 different directions. What I've described so far is typical of what I now call the loud disorganized type. Loud disorganized. They will find you. They will say, you're the love of my life. They sweep you off your feet. They carry you to a beautiful cabin in the woods. They open the door and say, this is our new home. And they close the door. And the moment it closes, they go, oh God, what have I done? Now I'm trapped in here with you, or you're trapped with me. Something's going to go wrong. So they like throw a fire, like a Molotov cocktail in the corner and start a fire and say, oh God, who started this mysterious gasoline fire? And they leap out the window to escape. And they run into the woods alone and they're like, all right, at last, no one can hurt me. And then they stop and say, but now I'm lonely. So they come back to the cabin, they kick in the door and they say, I'm here to rescue you from this mysterious gasoline fire. And they sweep you off your feet and run out into the woods and say, I've saved you. Now we will find a new home and we will be so happy together. And the pattern just continues. This is loud disorganized. These people, sometimes they're bad people, but usually they're not. They're very hurt. They're very lonely. They're very chaotic. And they don't want this to continue any more than you do. They're more hurt usually by this pattern than you are. Everyone else is blindsided by them. Like, what the hell just happened? Like these people, they usually, and no hatred against people who do this, but they talk about twin flames. They talk a lot about soulmates. Every human being they meet feels like their soulmate. Every human being they meet is their twin flame. They have 75 twin flames a year, right? They are constantly following, passionately, obsessively in love with people and love bombing themselves and the other person. They usually pair up with other people who are also chaotic. They usually pair up with other disorganized types. Very, very common. Now, this is loud disorganized type. Okay. The answer usually is regulate the nervous system first before anything else. Teach them nervous system regulation. Second is to help them find a spotter in their life, like a mentor, a religious guide, an older family member they trust, a good friend, that when they are like about to destroy a relationship, they can go and check in with that person. Hey, I'm having these feelings. Like, I think I need to break up with my girlfriend because she wore red shoes last week. And that's a clear sign she's cheating on me. I've got to end this thing. And the person says, whoa, whoa, whoa. You told me like 20 minutes ago that you want to marry her because you're so in love with her. And now you're telling me that red shoes means she's cheating on you. Like, what's going on here? Like, do you see how this isn't activating? You probably need to get your nervous system down, buddy. And then the guy goes, okay, you're right. That's a little crazy. Like red shoes doesn't mean that. It's purple shoes that mean cheating. I'll remember that. Okay, red shoes are okay. And then then they calm down and they have that spotter. Then they go to the person and say, look, I'm kind of freaking out. We got a lot closer. I'm really enjoying it. If you've seen me kind of pull back and be a little weird, I'm sorry. I'm working on that, but it is freaking me out a little bit. And the reason it's freaking me out is because I'm really afraid that I'm going to accidentally screw this thing up. So could you tell me in your own words, what would it take for me to really screw this relationship up so that I can make sure I don't do them? In turn, I'm going to tell you what would screw things up for me so that you can make sure you don't cross those boundaries either. And let's take care of each other by protecting that relationship. And then the other person says, cool. And you have the conversation. This actually lowers their stress. It releases not only oxytocin, but enormous vasopressin because you're relieving their stress. And then they have that to guide against in the future because now they have safety and resilience. Over time, as they do this, not just with one partner, that's awful. Don't just do it with one because then you become hyper fixated on one person, but with friends, maybe with family, as they come down from this level with a few people, it starts to feel better and better, and their nervous system regulates. Everything starts to be calm, and you finally defeat that oxytocin, the oxytocin association with trauma. They are actually associate oxytocin, its feelings itself, with impending danger. And that's the problem. You have to desensitize to that. Sometimes EMDR therapy can help tremendously with this. The idea of love itself is terrifying. And you go to EMDR, you can decrease some of that experience. Very, very helpful. EMDR has an 80 to 90% success rate usually with people working on challenges like this. So you can take care of that. So that's overview of loud disorganized. Okay. Loud disorganized. There we go. There we go. Looking at chat right now. You guys are talking over there pretty good. Regulating vagus nerve, 100% Edith. Vagus nerve is massive, massive, massive. What is EMDR? I recommend you actually go type that into ChatGPT. I could give you a great explanation, but EMDR is fantastic. It's a type of psychotherapy, but it's actually more neurological based, not talk based, not really. 80 to 90% success rate for trauma. It's probably the best trauma treatment on the planet. Great for men, great for women, great for the vast majority of people. So tremendously awesome. Check out EMDR. 100%, and it's covered by most insurances. It's available in most cities. There's a ton of EMDR therapists around, guys. It's awesome. It's available in America, available in Europe, available other places. It's spreading across the world. It's fantastic. It's one of the therapy styles I just adore, and it requires a specific certification to be able to use it. So there you go. There you go. I see you over there, house office. Okay, so that's loud disorganized, you guys. Quiet disorganized is a very different beast. Okay, quiet disorganized also experiences the same brokenness, the same hurt. They're usually put upon by other people. Their fight or flight response dies. It's like beaten out of them. Okay, fight or flight goes. They learn fight or flight gets them hurt worse. They now have fawn or freeze response. Quiet disorganized goes inside. Quiet disorganized blames themselves. Quiet disorganized says, I can't rely on anyone else to ever regulate anything. It's never going to help. No one helps me. No one cares. Maybe other people aren't evil. I clearly have some sort of inferiority. That's fine. I'm just going to stay away. I'm going to become very self-sufficient. I'm just going to take care of me. And if people want to get close to me, they can let me know. and I'll take applications, but that's it. And so they get into social circumstances, they don't know what to do, they freeze. And then to other people, they look aloof, they look disinterested, they look like an ice princess, they look like you don't care, you're too good for me. But really, she's like frozen on the inside, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't want to offend anybody. They don't ask questions because that's very personal. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They're very empathetic and very sympathetic. They're very compassionate. They just freeze. They freeze. There's been a lot of shows about women like this lately, various animes, memes, and stuff like that from that. A lot of people are really getting into quiet, disorganized style of the ultra shy, freeze response, quiet inferiority, but looks completely avoidant and disinterested on the outside. Once you kind of just poke through, you're like, you're frozen solid. You're not distant and cold and aloof. You're terrified. And that's why these people, men and women, usually only pair with people who are very chaotic and very intrusive. And they pair with people of personality disorders. They pair sometimes with the more manipulative variant of loud disorganized, or the more manipulative variant sometimes of avoidant. Not always, but it's usually the disorganized or personality types. And they pair with really chaotic people because they're like, oh, you like me? Okay, well, I guess I agree. Oh, you want to be in a relationship? Well, I don't have any compelling reason to say no. So, okay, you want to get married? Oh, okay. I don't have a reason to say no. So, okay, sure, whatever you want. And they just sort of like go along with relationships. And once they get into them, they think, well, gosh, I better be really good. I better really be nice and uphold my responsibilities. What can I do to be perfect? What do I do? These are the kind of people that if you shot them, they would apologize for bleeding on your carpet. And they would say, please let me clean your shoe before I die so that I don't leave this world smudging somebody's shoe. Right. This is like, that's the level of this. They have no understanding of what to expect from other people. They have very little sense of what's wrong, what's right and wrong in relationships. They have a sense of doing right and wrong, but they just endlessly just expect other people to just steamroll them. They're like, well, yeah, I mean, sometimes people get drunk and pee on your carpet. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just scream at you when they're angry 3 times a day. It just kind of happens, unfortunately. But, he said he's trying to work on it, so he probably means it, and he's probably trying. Right? They're very, very likely to pair with someone who has substance use issues because the addict will say, hey, you know what? I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better. And they're like, well, he said he's trying. Right? He said he's trying. Their threshold for expectations is so drastically, it's like not on the ground, it's like buried under the ground in a grave. That's where the bar is. Like you'd have to dig to even reach the bar for them. So this is quiet, disorganized. It is, yes, with age, Jen, they become less appeasing with age. This is why usually quiet, disorganized women come to me when they're 55, 60, 65. They're like, okay, I've done my tour of duties. I've been in wretched, angry, miserable relationships. I think I'm ready for a change. I don't think I deserve it, but you know what? Maybe you can teach me how to be loving to other people and also not have people who are, serial killer cannibals who are my boyfriend. That would be great to avoid at least cannibalism. Could we please at least avoid cannibalism? Right? Like that would be delightful. And these women use words like delightful. Usually they're quite lovely. And then if you like teach them, okay, well, cannibalism is like not the target. Not screaming at you and is not the target. Having a reasonable relationship with you and actually caring about how you feel, and then being a little open with you and being self-regulated. That's like the minimum. That's like the target. And they're like, I can't ask someone to be calm and self-regulated and ask about my day. I'm not like, well, that's a high maintenance woman. I'm not I don't want to be high maintenance and be a bother to people. And it's like, that's the piece. Yes, men can have this too. Primarily, I usually work with women who have quiet, disorganized, to be honest with you. They don't have fight or flight. That's gone. You have to like train fight into them almost, and they have to like pluck up their courage and convince themselves to fight slightly so that they have the smallest of boundaries. But they don't really want to fight with anyone. It's usually teaching them about kindness, capacity, and healthy boundaries so that they can prioritize goals and healthy people and say, I'm sorry, I don't have capacity to help you because I'm trying to help these people. But if you would like to be reasonable and not practice cannibalism, then that would be great. And then I can have a relationship with you. And it's teaching them to just have that level of priority. It's very hard for them to be able to say, I'm sorry, I can't have a relationship with you because I don't want to, or it would hurt me. Even self-preservation is very, very hard for them. So this is the difference. Loud, disorganized, not to demonize them. I'm not here to demonize loud, disorganized people. They're very hurt. And quiet, disorganized, I'm not here to make them look like saints. They have their own challenges. They tend to freeze up in relationships. They don't share their needs. They're very confusing with other people. They're not usually hurtful, but they give the impression to other people that they're not interested in you, and that can hurt sometimes. Oftentimes, they have children and they raise children who think mom didn't care. Mom wasn't interested in me. Mom take care of my needs, but mom doesn't really want to know me. And so a lot of times it involves going back to their adult kids and saying, "Hey, did you feel like I didn't want to know you? Do you think that I don't want to know you now? Did you think I wasn't interested?" And they can accidentally raise kids who are anxiously attached because those kids really craved that connection and didn't really know how to get it with mom, because mom was in like a fawn response continuously with the kid, or a freeze response when the kid would have emotions and didn't know what to do about it. So mom would fawn or freeze when the kid would have an emotional experience, and the kid was like, "Why are you like never connect? What's going on? Why don't you connect with me?" It's a very often that can be the process. So that's the deal. That's the deal. Yes, fearful avoidant FA, that rolls right into disorganized attachment. It is disorganized, but again, we're updating. So disorganized can look like both, you guys. Disorganized can sometimes look like the person who is a serial monogamist but goes through a different relationship every 1 to 2 years, and they've had like a number of intense monogamous relationships. It can look like the person who can't stop, like seemingly can't stop cheating, and is like in and out of relationships and cheating, and then like, why did I do that, and agonizing over it and crushed by it, and they have like a different hookup every 3 days, and then they just can't stop, but they're actually like really bothered by their behavior. We look for personality disorders. We look for that complete lack of awareness, lack of insight, lack of any kind of contrition whatsoever, or remorse. Not that I'm not judging anybody like you must be remorseful, but I mean, even like lack of control over my life bothers me. A person who's more like disordered, loud, disorganized slash FA, fearful avoidant, they're like, it bothers me that I don't have control. I should have control. I can't seem to stop from doing these things. That's the division line between like what that I look for, especially with borderline personality disorder and like loud disorganized, because loud disorganized is the baby version of borderline personality disorder that didn't cross that diagnostic threshold because the person still has that awareness, that insight, and is trying to improve and trying to grow, but they're dysregulated. That's that difference. A lot of times people with loud disorganized will be diagnosed with quiet BPD. They're the ones who come in that said, "I have borderline personality disorder." No, you don't. Pretty much almost nobody on the planet who has had actual BPD actually accepts their diagnosis. But a lot of people with loud disorganized style get misdiagnosed as borderline instead. And so a lot of people, if you're in the audience right now and you're like, "Hey, I was diagnosed with BPD," probably not. You probably have loud disorganized style. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here being like, "I have BPD and I've worked on it and I'm trying to be really proactive." That sorry guys, that does not usually happen. So just practice that awareness, you guys. Not here to demonize anyone on the planet ever, to be honest with you. Everybody that has these challenges is suffering. They're not evil people. That's not what I'm saying. Some of them are, but not because of these challenges. Um, just be aware that this is happening. So how do you fix these? Awareness of what relationships are supposed to be. Going through what I teach, the 4 levels of trust, really crucial. Understanding what's expected of you and what's not in a relationship. If you're not sure, ask. Knowing that you can even ask in relationships. In fact, knowing that healthy, secure people want you to ask about the boundaries of relationships, and they might even ask you. Knowing that you can and should be probing red flags and sharing your own red flags and what you're doing to work on them. Understanding that when you're concerned, you can actually share that with the other person and then get some resolution. Knowing that you need to manage your own nervous system and regulate that nervous system. If you're loud disorganized, having a spotter that you can go to when you freak out, you're like, "Red shoes means cheating. I'm out of here." And it's like, no, wait, you're just scared of actually getting hurt. So stick around for a moment. Let's have a conversation. Doing that, having that spotter, again, self-regulating nervous system, vagus nerve work. Thank you, Edith, for bringing that up earlier. All of that is 100% absolutely mandatory for you to be able to do that. Um, Yes. Okay. Donism. I used to have borderline personality disorder. I beat it. Understanding it's disorganized with a cortisol addiction. We might need to disagree, but yes, I'm one of those people that does believe personality disorders can be overcome. I do. I think that they have to have an absolute painful, agonizing rock bottom moment, and some people don't survive that experience. Again, I'm not here to demonize anybody. I used to work extensively as a licensed marriage and family therapist. I was the cleanup crew when the dialectical behavioral treatment team, the DBT team, who specializes specifically in treating borderline, when somebody would wash out of that program or the DBT team burned out and couldn't help somebody, I was the cleanup crew that they sent that most extreme cases to, so I could help them and I could work with them. I'm happy to work with those people. I have nothing but love and compassion for people who are suffering. So I'm not here to demonize people with BPD, but the insight level by default for personality disorders is absolute zero. It takes rock bottom to try to get that insight level. Usually they have to be forced into treatment in some horrible capacity. And then you have to start from ground zero, rebuilding their understanding of how reality works and what their place is. There's a tremendous amount of guilt for things they've done at that point. They start developing a guilt reflex. There's all kinds of things that start building. So if you do have it and you did overcome it, absolute God's blessings to you, 100%. I'm never here to judge anybody, but um, I don't want anyone to walk around with the stigma of a diagnosis that they don't have either. So I'll leave that alone. You guys decide for yourselves what diagnoses you have, or go get diagnosed by a professional. It's actually a better move. So there's that. Anyway, questions that you guys have. I'm going to pop open members only chat, and I'm here to help. Let me do that here really quick. Customization, members, save, boom. There we go. Adam looking like attachment Batman. Ooh, I like that. I like Batman. Lego Batman is actually the best Batman. Most people don't realize that. All right, guys, what questions do you have for me? Members, especially if you hit the button at the bottom that says join, you can join $10, support the channel for the month. You get chat priority, you get comment priority, and you get these members only chats. So this is your time. I call it micro coaching. What problems are you facing, or what questions do you have about this topic? Let me know. This is where the spicy stuff really starts to roll in. Lego Batman is a work of art. Ah, there we go. I love it. That's the ultimate attachment movie is Lego Batman. Honestly, Archeon, Adam, this perfectly describes me. Loud style or quiet style? Which one describes you, Archeon? I wouldn't think loud would, but quiet probably more accurately, if I would have to guess. Loud. Interesting. Okay. Tell me more. What questions do you guys members have here tonight? You guys support me, so I want to make sure I support you right back. What are we doing? What are we talking about? Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the likes. I love that so much. I appreciate that. That helps support the stream quite a lot. So thank you. I appreciate you guys. Treatment. Where, with who? I'm very rural. It's hard to find help in Minnesota. Reach out to your county. That can be incredibly helpful. The website psychologytoday.com has a therapist finder by zip code. Actually, DBT Marsha Linehan, she developed it, I believe. Was it Minnesota or Michigan? I can't remember. She developed DBT in one of those states. So I know that there's help up in the upper Midwest there. Absolutely. But psychologytoday.com is a great resource for if you're looking for therapy or EMDR as well. I'm confused with how one can differentiate FA from DA. So fearful avoidant and dismissive avoidant. See, this is why I don't like that old classification. And I get where you're coming from, Edith. So purely avoidant people do not have a core of anxious attachment on the inside. They do not have an inferiority complex. They do not have an oxytocin addiction. They usually have an experienced oxytocin. They do not have a chase reflex or a fear of abandonment. It is usually fixated on the outside. Other people are the problem. I'm not. So then their behaviors flip around to managing risks from other people. It's not managing self. Braden Kelly, thank you so much for joining as a member. I appreciate that. And that's very kind of you. If you've got a question, drop it down there. You've got question priority for the rest of the month. So thank you very much. Archeon, I get extremely in love fast, and I think they're going to leave me. Okay. Yeah, falling in love fast and trying to leave and thinking they'll leave. I mean, that is an anxious trait. Anxious people fall in love very quickly and then are terrified of abandonment. If you ever reach a point where you then flip around and become avoidant at 3 months in and then freak out and say, screw this person, I'm out of here once they love you, that might be more like this disorganized type. Can you line up some differences? Oh, differences. Avoidant people, like I said, they're more cortisol dopamine driven. Disorganized types, usually they have that anxious attachment. They have that insecurity, the inferiority. They're going to be checking in. They're going to be asking for help. They're going to be freaking out about not being good enough. You're going to see them flip flop their behaviors. It will look almost like they have two different personalities. They don't, but it'll look like they do because their behavior patterns are opposite. They have two opposite, completely different behavior patterns. They're going to say one thing and then flip to the other extreme. That's what you're going to see, hot and cold. You're going to see a lot of that change back and forth. Sarah, good to see you. I feel pretty bad recently because I am trying to build deeper oxytocin bonding with my friend, but I found myself not able to love my friend. We went for a 2-week trip, but during the trip, I constantly got annoyed by small things of her. I constantly want to lock myself in a stone coffin whenever she wants to be more physically close to me. Sarah, is it possible that you're experiencing this loud disorganized right here, where you are desperately craving that oxytocin bonding connection, but once you get it, your brain has what we call an oxytocin phobic response, where you become terrified of oxytocin and closeness. That usually is where you start seeing that, where you're like, okay, the little things are annoying me. You're the best person I've ever known, but now I realize your eyes are the wrong shade of green. It should really be more like a soft green than a sharp green. Now we can't be friends anymore because you're a monster. Like if your brain is doing that, that's usually not the problem. That's usually that loud, disorganized tendency of now I have to find a reason to strangle my love so I can never be hurt by it. I don't have this kind of reaction with I'm a romantic partner. When I chase a guy I'm into, I don't have this issue. Well, does he ever turn around and completely engulf you in love? That would be the question there, Sarah. Does he ever turn around and completely engulf you in love, and overwhelm you and saturate you and then stay doing that? Like a female friend might. Does he ever do that? Braden, I'm 35 with 4 kids. My wife has told me many times she's leaving me / divorce generally after an issue pops up. Pretty sure she's DA, maybe FA. I stopped chasing last week. Help. Oh man, Braden. Issues pop up. I'm divorcing you. I'm divorcing you. I'm divorcing you. Have you ever read my book, Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands? You might be the exhausted wife in that pattern. Vast majority of times, it's the woman who's the exhausted partner, but quite often it can be the man too. You might want to check out my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands. It's about the pattern of being with, if you are the anxious person in the relationship or even the secure one, and your partner has more avoidant traits, whether they're fearful avoidant or purely avoidant, that will show you what's happening, the damage, and then how to start working on it, building boundaries and or fixing it if they're open to it. It will also show you if they're not open to it, exactly how to sort that out so that you can have peace of mind. I discovered you a couple of weeks ago. Okay, on Amazon, type exhausted wives into Amazon. My name pops up in the dictionary under exhausted wives. It's my face. Um, I don't know. That's the book. Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands. That's going to be the book that pops up. It's about 100 pages. Read it through. You're going to see the reviews are full of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that he wrote about this pattern. I feel so seen. It answered so many things." It's only 100 pages, but it will give you a lot of clarity, Braden, and it'll give you a place to start as well. I would check out that book. Archeon, after dating for a while, I get quick to anger. Interesting. Okay. Well, it could be. It could be that you're turning on things like that. It could be loud, disorganized. It very well could be. So start regulating nervous system. Absolutely biggest priority. I think we've talked about EMDR before. Regulate nervous system. Get a spotter. And then start managing it with friendship first so that you can desensitize to some of that fear and terror. Practice getting close to people in a good way, talking with them in lower stakes. That will help. As you build those friendships, you'll have multiple spotters, and then you can start having a more successful relationship pattern. That's the best thing. I bought the audiobook book. Thank you. Thank you, Braden. I appreciate that. Let me know how you like it. I didn't read the audiobook. I did have a woman read it. I thought it would be a little more gentle for a female audience to have a woman reading it. A lot of people have told me in the future they want me to read the books. I'll give it a shot if I can do that. We'll figure it out. But great time. Great time. Please read it. Let me know what you think. My email's in there if you need to email me and get any help as well. Sarah, I'm not sure. My past relationships tend to be a pattern of me chasing the guy more, but I don't have issues, snuggle or bedroom activities with the guy I'm into. It makes sense if you chase, get a little bit of connection and intimacy. You call it like breadcrumbing, and then you're like desperate for that. That's because you're hungry and running. And then the next time you're chase. If you're constantly in the chase pattern, he's more like the avoidant pattern, you're not going to flip to avoidant. I'd be very curious to see what would happen if you ever got to it with a guy who was anxiously attached. Would you like crawl out of your skin trying to escape from him and be the most avoidant woman on the planet? That might be. If you've had those tendencies, I can't remember. We had a whole talk about like after bedroom experience, throwing clothes back on and jumping out the window because oxytocin kind of thing. I don't remember if you were there for that. I apologize, but it seems like you were for that conversation. A lot of those patterns, it could be that you've just never had a man fully turn and fully embrace you that way because you prioritize avoidant men, but your friend giving you the intimacy could be flagging your avoidant tendencies. It's possible. That's very possible. Right now, that's my working hypothesis. Doesn't mean I'm 100% right because I know you through this, but it's not like I'm there watching you day and night kind of thing is what I mean. So it's track that. Just track that. Oh yeah, if a guy's massively anxious, I feel very angry. I want to punch him in the face. I think it's because I don't love him. Well, maybe, but lack of love doesn't usually lead to that level of resentment. Not typically. Um, it sounds like I'm still working on this. Loud disorganized is usually that's what that sounds like. Loud disorganized with an oxytocin phobic response. Once you actually catch the person, kind of like a dog that chases cars, catches a car and doesn't know what to do with it. Right, the car runs you over, kind of thing. It's almost what you're going through there. Um, that sounds like loud disorganized with an oxytocin phobic response. Again, regulate nervous system, maybe do some EMDR. That's what I would very much recommend for that pattern. Loud disorganized, you guys, is not something I mess with without like really recommending EMDR. The trauma responses are just so massive. It's very hard to regulate through like exercise and yoga and positive affirmations. Very hard to do that. Usually reducing the trauma response is critical, and EMDR is one of the most effective treatments on the planet for that. So very, 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 very much often will I recommend EMDR in particular for disorganized style. It's one of the first things I point people to. I don't mess around with that. So there you guys go. Any other questions here tonight? You guys help me. I want to help you right back. I don't want to leave any stone unturned or any person uncared for. I want to make sure. My hair looks very, very floppy tonight. Wonder why. Looks dark. Oh, it's because I don't have my side lights on. So it's casting really vivid shadows. That's what it is. I'm going to see somebody about EMDR next week. Love it, Archeon. That's fantastic. It's probably one of the best things you're going to do for yourself. It's an amazing piece. Braden, I'll start in the book ASAP. My wife told me 6 months ago she wants a divorce. We really haven't talked since then. Obviously, I chased hard, but I assume that was a problem. Yeah, no, I hear you. Check out the book. It's going to give you a massive amount of insight. You need the insights in that book. It's really going to help. Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands. You picked it up. Good. Go through it. Hit me with questions. It's only 100 pages. You might cry. I think the audiobook is like 3 hours or something like that. It ain't real long. So go through it. Give it a shot. It's going to help a lot. A lot of insight. Okay, you guys, I will be back tomorrow night. I have scheduled out all my lives for this month. You can see them. You can sign up for them. They're all there. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comment section. I know thousands of you guys watch these replays, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I am here to help. I do read those comments. Hit me with them. Let me know. If you need any assistance, you can check out my website, adamlanesmith.com. I do have my free attachment styles assessment on there. Look for the attachment assessment. It will show you. It doesn't break down the different like which subtype you might be, because I didn't want to go that extreme. I wanted to maintain as much accuracy as possible without giving you 800 questions. So it will sort you into secure, avoidant, disorganized, quiet, anxious. It'll sort you into the 4, and then it'll give you like a high or low rating on which one you might be. I wanted to be as accurate as possible. AdamLaneSmith.com. Check out the free attachment assessment on there to get your attachment style. So when I resolve my LD, will it help me not fall in love so fast? Working on resolving those challenges and those pieces, they often do give you the pause to think a little more clearly. When your nervous system's regulated, when all of those pieces are solved and you can calm down, you're not as desperate. It's like going to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store starving, you pick the worst food. When you go to the grocery store full, you make smarter decisions, slower, and you pay less. So don't go grocery shopping hungry, and don't go dating starving for oxytocin. Same thing. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. You can sign up for notifications right now. I'll see you there.